Welcome to the RSP Boiler Room. I'm Matt Waldman with the Rookie Scouting Portfolio. We're going to take a look at Wan'Dale Robinson out of Kentucky, number one wide receiver at the right hash. He's going to work the corner route here. And, first let's compliment him on something he does really nicely, which is addressing the football. See how he has his hands together. He's bringing them out towards a ball that's arriving at chest level, and he extends for the ball, thumbs almost together here, and he lets the ball meet his fingertips here rather than really clapping on the football. That's nice work on a target that is underrated difficult for a lot of receivers because when it hits the numbers, they don't know whether to go overhand or underhand. So Robinson does that extremely well. But I want to look today at some plays that talk about things beyond his open field ability and his speed and quickness, but how he positions himself with specific types of targets, because that's a very important part of differentiating between good and great players at the wide receiver position. Here's an interesting example. You're going to see Robinson up at the right. He's going to catch an out route against single coverage here. And he runs the speed break. He does a pretty good job with the speed break overall. Nice stem. Gets that nice little weight drop right here. And it's really not even a speed break. It's more of a harder break. He has a flat drive step, pretty flat line step. He breaks back towards the ball. This is all very nice. So the route has some potential here. Shows with a nice hard break, a drop in three, comes out, gets back towards the ball. But he catches this ball a little late. It's at a late window. And as a result, see how his hands are facing the oncoming defender? Now he does a great job of getting both feet in. I mean, he has to go up for this ball a little bit, leave his feet for this ball, and then basically lean out and drag and drop those feet. We're going to watch it from this angle. This red zone angle gives you an idea of, okay, first of all, look where his hands are. Not bad, but he ends up having to catch this ball at the back shoulder. You don't want to turn back shoulder on this. This is one of those plays where you prefer where when he makes this catch, he doesn't turn. Because this turn, he's turning into the oncoming coverage. And that's where a defender can knock the play out. And so if he can avoid trying to use a momentum-based turn like that and just go up and extend and then just drop his feet, but he wants to turn to see his feet at the boundary to see if he can drag that foot like he does right there. Now, that's not going to count in the NFL because it's only 1 foot. But it's one of these situations where he would be better off being in a position where he catches his ball at an earlier window and doesn't turn his frame. Otherwise, he's exposing the ball. And we're going to take a look at it more like this, because positioning like this is the difference between making some of these big plays and even tighter coverage in the NFL. This is a nice college play, and it's going to get a lot of people excited about him. But this is a type of play in the pros where the coverage is going to be tighter, and he's going to be more prone to having the ball knocked out, and he's going to have to get both feet in, and he'd be better suited not to have to make a turn to do that. Here's another play with a positive result, but kind of a mixed bag as a process. You're going to see Wan'Dale Robinson with kind of like the stalk block like release, where it looks like he's stalk blocking here, and then he floats into the open zone, crosses the field, and now it's a low throw. He gets his hands underneath, and in order to make this catch, he lands right on the ball. All right, here's another nice college play. You're going to see Robinson work to the outside against the zone coverage, give a little look to the flat, and then work upfield. He's wide open now, and he now has to make this catch. It's a high throw with the safety over here, and he has to work over to that defender. And see how he jumps and leans through backwards into the jump? I like the fact that he gets his back turned to the defender so he can give the defender his back and his backside. But what you'd like to see here, ideally, and Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, they're great at this, is being able to come to a stop, and when they jump straight up rather than lean backwards. See how he's leaning backwards? Because he jumps, he doesn't really come to a stop. He just runs, turns, and jumps, and that forces his momentum backwards into the defender. You want to avoid that type of leaning backwards. It would be better if he can turn, come to a stop, and jump, and as a result, he might actually not even have to make the jump, because you can see that the ball arrives. Let's take a look at it from this angle. Where the ball arrives, he probably didn't even have to need to jump. We're going to take a look at it from the broadcast, this all 22 angle. It's a better angle, but you can see right here, this is probably just an over the head high point if he turns and stops and goes straight up and down. Instead, he now leads himself into contact where a defender has a better chance of being able to strip the ball away. It doesn't happen because Robinson at least did a good job of leaning back and putting his back to the defender. But it's this pattern of behavior that I see with his plays where you want to see him get better at learning positioning, learning to be able to go straight up and down, because with certain fade routes at the boundary, he's not going to have the room or position to be able to do this type of thing. And he's got to get in the practice of not leaping and leaning. He needs to come to a stop and leap, so then he can also use his hands rather than trap, and rather than catching the ball into the pit of his stomach like this and leaning into contact. Now here's a good example of positioning. You're going to see him in the slot here, a little stutter release, work inside, and then he makes the leaping catch, and he's able to get his back turned to the defender just in time before the defender's reach is able to get to his frame. But he does a good job with the high point, turning back and around. Now, the question is, did he need to high point here? Probably the answer is yeah, based on where he catches it at this stage. But the fact that he's able to make a full turn is the important part. As long as you're able to get your back to that defender just enough, you're in good shape. All right, here's a good example of Robinson where he needs to embrace the fall better. You can see him motion across formation, and he's going to work back across to the quarterback's left on this play and get targeted low and away in the end zone. Here he is open on the crosser right here, and you see the diving catch right here. You want to see him turn. To me, I'd like to see him turn to his left, but he lands right on the ball, and the ball pops out, and it's incomplete. And this is a common thing that I see with his game a little bit, is that he tends to land on the football. And you want to avoid doing this because he is the type of player who's low to the ground, who's short, who can be able to make these types of low and away catches, and it will be to his advantage, especially when he has a little bit of separation. These are the optimal targets for him to be a guy of focus. And if he can't come down with these balls, it's going to be a problem. So while I haven't shown everything about Wan'Dale Robinson's game for sure, this little snippet just giving you an idea of understanding of how he positions himself at the catch point and how that's important for wide receiver play applies to a lot more players than just Wan'Dale Robinson. This is a good football player who can find openings in tight creases. He's fine with playing within tight spaces. He can take contact and come down with the ball. He works well within zone coverages at this stage of the game at the college level, and obviously he's very good after the catch. He's going to be a fun player to monitor to see how his career develops. If he can learn to position himself in optimal ways at the catch point, I think this is a guy who can become a good starter in the NFL. It's going to be a lot more than just positioning. Route running is going to be a big part of what he can do in terms of maximizing his upside. But the positioning part is a notable point that can be the difference between a good player who makes good plays and a great player who makes clutch plays. Thanks again for watching. For more RSP Boiler Room videos, you can check out my YouTube channel, Matt Waldman's RSP Film Room, and my site, www.mattwaldmanrsp.com.